Hey, it's News from Heaven. This is the show where we are trying to figure out life in our own minds by taking an annotated journey through the writings of Emanuel Swedenborg, and today we're going to explore how to make your spirit beautiful. And we do it with these 3 steps. First, we give the divine credit. You got to think about what's honest and fair, and something in the end about chaste love. And we may say, is that a little bit of a contradiction in terms to be all spiritual while pursuing the beauty of the spirit? But as we saw in our previous episode, and as you see all over, the spiritual stuff, what's external and internal correspond. So to have any kind of effect of being beauteous in outward appearance, that means you got to think what's beautiful and love what's beautiful. It's not that you're chasing a means to manipulate how people feel about you. This is just the reflection of the mindset that you've got to get to. And it happens to be the heaven mindset anyway, so you might want to do it. And it's also the mindset that sets us free, because we walk around under the thumb of everything that's negative, fear and worry and everything like that. And through these tools that we're learning today, we actually find the way to deflect all the day-to-day worries that we have and to get the divine reality streaming in. And the truth is just beautiful. It's going to show up and it's going to reflect. So hopefully we can all get some tools here that are going to help us out. Like and subscribe. That would help me out. And leave in the comments, is this stuff working for you? How are you using it in your life? Is this making your day-to-day more beautiful in any way? Download Heaven and Hell. There's a link in the description. We go all the way down to number 489, subsection 5. If you want to see a little bit about the spiritual neighborhood and how to increase that and upgrade where you live spiritually, not just after death, but where we live now, check out that episode. Right. We're going to begin, though, looking into how to make the spirit beautiful here. And I got to admit something. Okay. All right. Number 5 could really fall under the spiritual neighborhood principle, but it segues really well in with the other ones. I think you'll be okay. You got to have your right location to get the right look and everything like that. Okay, all right. If people have given the divine credit, our keyword right out of the gate, for everything, and don't sleep on this sentence, this is a very intense way to look at life and the key to freeing the mind. And regarded nature as relatively dead, simply subservient to spiritual concerns. And if they have convinced themselves of this, they are in heavenly light. We'll have to pause at the semicolon because there's a lot to process there. Here, this phrase, given the divine credit for everything, seems to be juxtaposed with, rather than giving the material world credit for itself, meaning, physical stuff arose out of physical stuff. There's not a divine creator. To Swedenborg, that was really important. You can also take this sentence, though, here and read into in your own mind as we're trying to improve our mental state to give the divine credit for things. Even though it feels like, hey, I've done something cool. I've done something good to say. Hey, that's God doing that. That is the best ammo in the world against the thoughts and fears, because just watch the thoughts and fears in your mind. You'll notice they play a little game called Your Value is in Jeopardy. If you did something good, are you going to be able to repeat that? Are you living up to expectations? Are you more valuable than the person next to you? All of that is based on we each have our own intrinsic value and our own intrinsic skill set, and those can be in competition. But to say, no, this is God, everything good is God, man, you're invincible. You take that away, even though it's not even quite what we're talking about here. That's super potent material. Simply subservient to spiritual concerns. Oh yeah, the semicolon, we return. And everything that presents itself to their eyes derives, they're in heavenly light, and everything that presents itself to their eyes derives a kind of translucence from that light. So everything around, as they're up there in heaven, even if they see some kind of boulder along the path, there is some kind of glow from it. Because everything there now reminds them of the truth. In that translucency, and it's not just pure white light, in that translucency they see innumerable shadings of light that their inner sight seems to drink directly in. So we have everything as a source of sustenance. If we have our rock along the side of the road shining out with the truth, because this is a spiritual rock. Remember, we're talking about what it's like to be in the spiritual world. You here, even just observing the miracle of form and of what's been created, there's some sustenance for your soul. You can commune with the things around you to get your inner sight satisfied. This is how they perceive deeper pleasures, that they're able to go take a walk and learn mystical things about the nature of life. Not too bad. The objects in their houses, and again, this is setting up the inner outer thing that's going to soon apply to the way our spirit looks. Everything that you think and feel reflects somewhere outside. The objects in their houses look like diamonds with similar variegations of light. So again, this interplay with light, because light has to do with the truth. I have been told, and I guess he didn't see this one for himself, but he heard that their walls, and listen to this futuristic drywall that they've got going on, that their walls look like crystal. This is, real high-end houses on the cliffs overlooking the ocean have, they're all glass. So it is maybe some of that is dripping down from heaven, and therefore are also translucent. And that within them, within the walls, one can see what looks like fluid forms representative of heavenly things, again with constant variety, almost like it's some kind of jumbotron screen inside, that the walls are in like a translucent, so you can see the sunlight through them, and they're also teaching you great things. So not only when you're out seeing realities, you're learning these deep truths. When you're in there, I'm just going to watch the walls for a while, because they happen to be broadcasting the secrets of life. This is because, and why? Is it just God saying, good job, you did it, okay, I'll arbitrarily hand you this nice wall that I made? This is because this kind of translucence corresponds to an intellect that has been enlightened by the Lord, with the shadows that arise from faith in and love of natural things taken away. Because that's what we've got. That's what allows us to be in this situation here, where we have these problems. We have a faith in natural things, gumming up the work. We have, what's the other phrase that he uses here? Love of. Oh, of course, faith and love, right. Ooh, like I never heard of Swedenborg before. Faith in and love of natural things. Natural things not meaning, a nature preserve, but meaning superficial, external, ego-concerned kind of things. Because we really believe at a certain level, that's what runs things. And we really like the pleasure of being better than other people, and even the pleasure of being more beautiful than other people, since we're talking about beauty here. Our attachment to that competitive, negative stuff is what gives these clouds their orbit and their access point to us. But Swedenborg is saying that once those things are banished, once there is no love of and faith in natural things, there's the translucency. You think, what is translucency? It's letting light through. We can suddenly let the truth through when that stuff's not in. And it's that mindset, that where God's divine truth comes through us and it goes out to the other people we interact with, it goes out to the world and how we look at it. That is what corresponds. Because you have that going on in the mind, that's what upgrades the way you live in the spiritual world. And I would say it can come through here too, because the more you're cleared up in your mind, doesn't that inspire you to get cleared up in the surroundings? Okay, you've got that stuff out of the way. We're doing good. Things like this and infinitely more are what, and remember, anytime Swedenborg is summarizing stuff, I apologize for pausing in the middle of a sentence there. Anytime he's mentioning a particular instance of what it's like to live in heaven, and you might say, that's great, or you may say, that's not as cool as I've imagined heaven being, or that's not my style. Everybody's heaven is different for them. Swedenborg is just trying to give you an example. He's saying infinitely more, but the basic principle is the excitement of what's possible and how it links up to the mind. These things are constants, and they can give us the tools to shape how we live today, are what people who have been in heaven are talking about when they say they have seen what the eye has never seen. Biblical references here. And from the grasp of divine things conveyed them in this connection, that they have heard what the ear has never heard. Stuff like this, he's saying, and infinitely more stuff. There's cool potential in the spirit, but you've got to do it. You've got to do your part. Our little part here. You might think this is all this drama about how you live in this cool place and the intellect is going through. All of that if I may be so bold as to scroll, is just coming out of giving the divine credit. So we do a little part here. It's kind of like the simplicity of eating a piece of food. And then these fireworks go off where your body is digesting and all these enzymes and breaking down the different components at the molecular level. And it all gets absorbed by this very specialized lining in your stomach, goes into the bloodstream. This amazing sequence of events that's so much more complicated than like, But that's what we're doing here. That's always how it is. Just do our little part. Give the divine credit for everything. You see a boost in your life and happiness, and it leads to these amazing conditions in the life after death when the spirit becomes the thing that affects what we see around. All right, our next keyword, now we begin to get into changes in our minds that actually change the appearance of our spirit. If people have not acted covertly, but have wanted everything they were thinking to be out in the open, to the extent that civil law allows. Like, I got nothing to hide because I'm not just turning off my practice when I'm thinking alone. Then, since they have thought nothing but what was honest and fair because of the deity, honest and fair being our keyword, because of the deity, he's always driving this home, doing it, and really, when I dig down into what do you mean by that, Swedenborg, and I apologize again for stopping in the middle of a sentence, but it's got to be done. Because of the deity means not just because of God or because of divine retribution. It means because it is honest and fair. Because God is what is honest and fair. So to be thinking what's honest and fair, not because we want to have a good reputation or because this will lead us to curry favor with other people, but because this is the right thing to do. That's what qualifies us for this. And what does it do? We get our first spiritual upgrade. In heaven, their faces are radiant. So when you have this complete correspondence that how you treat people when you talk to them and stuff, and how you think about them when you're not around, not that every thought has to be never critical, but it's just the same love and compassion, that shines through in the face, because the face is the window to the soul. Because of that radiance, it's not just a shiny face, a light bulb inside your head. Because of that radiance, the details, and this gets into some spiritual world craziness, the details of their thoughts and affections are visible in their faces, as though presented in a form. I don't know exactly what he's talking about there. If we have a beautiful, radiant face here, does he mean simply that, expressions, that you have this really expressive face that communicates that well? Or is there some kind of aura or halo or something? I don't know. But somehow you get this amazing communication, as though presented in a form. And in both speech and action, they are virtual images of their feelings. That you can be, altruism. That you can be fairness or patience. An embodiment of those characteristics. And if you saw someone who was an embodiment of that, you're naturally going to think that they're cool. Swedenborg says they are more beloved than others, which sounds harsh, but, he's just making the point that this kind of honesty, don't we love it in real life when we know we can trust somebody? When we know that we're not going to go tell them a secret and they're going to be bad-mouthing us about that to their friends. Doesn't that put you at ease? Well, this is just that personified. That there's that same kind of ease and that purity. It's the same kind of thing with little kids, because aren't little kids operating that way where they're not deceiving? And everybody loves to say, oh, hey, look, there's a little kid. It's kind of like a dog, too. You just go up and you talk to him and you pet him even if you don't know him, because there's this trust and you know that they have this love in them. Same kind of thing here. This is the kind of mindset that becomes so obvious in the spiritual world. But then there's this fascinating wrinkle that it's not just, okay, everything you do is all flawless. When they are talking, their faces dim a little. But after they have spoken, then the very things they have said can be fully and plainly seen in their faces. It's almost like verbal expression is not their most effective tool to communicate this pure emotion and love that they have. They'll talk for a while, but afterwards the feeling shows through. Further, since everything around them answers to their deeper natures, everything takes on a countenance that enables others to see clearly what they represent and mean. So just by having this person around, The rest of us are able to, and we were talking a lot in the last episode about how the things around you, the objects in heaven, can represent divine realities. Having these peeps around makes it so that if we're all pondering this house or this tree or something and what it means, their aura reaches out and actually enlightens us so that we can see, oh, that's what that is. Just, have you ever been around somebody that when you're around them, you feel like you understand life in a different way? Well, this is very tangibly so. So not only are you making yourself look great and people like you, you are helping people be happy, because that's what heaven is. So that's why you have this taking place in heaven. Spirits who have found pleasure in covert activity get as far from them as they can and seem to themselves to slither away from them like snakes. So if we like plotting against people and we like harming people and shutting people out and misusing people's trust, we don't want to be here. We want to get out of here, because they are an embodiment. Ooh, that's a red arrow. They are an embodiment of honesty and fairness. And an embodiment of honesty and fairness is going to ruin the MO of somebody who gets around by tricking people. So obviously, they're out of here. Okay, now we get to our third. That was a kind of beauty, but this is where he comes out and says, this is how you be the most beautiful you can possibly be, if that matters. People who have regarded adultery as unspeakable and have lived in chaste love, there's our key word, chaste love of their marriage. And I will stop to say that the way Swedenborg described things, he wasn't married, but yet he thought that the marriage of goodness and truth inside each person, which can then manifest in a relationship, that is of utmost importance. But it's still something you can be working on, even if you're not particularly married, or you're just in the love of this trusting relationship between people that makes it so that, they know they're committed to each other. This commitment mirrors the commitment between God and the human race. So the chaste love of it does that. Okay. Are more in the pattern and form of heaven than anyone else. Bold claim, but that is the way that you get there. This gives them a total beauty and a constant flower of youth. So you're young and beautiful because of this love. The pleasures of their love are indescribable and increase to eternity. That's not so bad. Like, even if you think it's pretty good now, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up, and increase to eternity. Now, to be fair, that's what all heavenly pleasure does, but he's saying this particularly. This is, and why does it matter so much? This is because all the joys and delights of heaven flow into that love. And this in turn is because that love, the love between committed partners, comes down from the Lord's union with heaven and with the church. So this is a mirror. Everything's a mirror. Everything's a correspondence. So you have the Lord, who's always symbolized by a glowy sun, the Lord, and then us, right? The human race. And there is this same kind of commitment there. There is the, hey, I want to live entirely with you, and I want to live with you too. Thanks for asking. And this is like, let's give each other everything that's good. That bond is reflected in, Swedenborg says, can be reflected in, isn't always, but can be reflected in the joining of two people with that same kind of fidelity and commitment and willingness to grow together. That is the correspondence. This is the small version here of the large version, which is the Lord's love for the entire human race. And in general, from the union of the good and the true, that is heaven. So this is inside everything that's ever been created. There is this union of the good and true, and you're seeing an expression of it there. That is also why it's a big deal. And in every individual angel in particular. Like I was saying, you can have this heavenly marriage in your own mind and in your own actions. For that, see above. Their external pleasures are so wonderful that they cannot be described in human words. So I won't try, is I guess what he's saying. And you may feel like, wow, that's a lot. We've been hit by a lot this episode. But he's saying, still, what I've said about the correspondences of pleasures for people who are involved in heavenly love is only a little. Don't get, if you're saying that's all there is, Or you're saying, hey, that's cool. Is there more of that? Yeah, this is just a teeny little subsection of what we can look forward to in the heavenly mindset, which is a mindset that's not just you get into a place and, oh, I made it, nobody else did, this is great. It's the mindset of love for the whole human race. When you mirror what God is doing in loving everyone equally, then, we get this state of mind. We get, and your spirit, the appearance of your spirit can't help but reflect that. And it is beautiful. That kind of love is beautiful. This enables us to know that after death, our pleasures do change into corresponding ones, but that the love itself remains the same forever, especially marriage love, the love of what is fair, honest, and good and true, the love of information and of insights, the love of intelligence and wisdom, and the rest. The things that flow from these loves like a stream from their spring, look at that stream, are pleasures that not only last but are raised to a higher level when they are changed from natural pleasures into spiritual ones. And the news that gives me is your dark clouds will try to tell you, and I'll try to get a little erasing here to make a point. They'll try to say, you don't have very much that's worth anything, or your life circumstances are not worth much. There's nothing really good about you. There's nothing really meaningful about you, and you don't have very much potential, or you're going to lose what you do have. Whatever they say, you know what they say to you. What this is saying is that the path to the greatest happiness is there in these little seeds that are in you right now. That the things we love, it's not the success we have in the world. It's not how popular we are. It is what we love, which is something that everybody has access to. So let's say the love of a commitment, the love of learning and insights, the love of what is honest and fair, whichever life is giving you the opportunity to develop. As we develop these things, they can grow. That all this other stuff that we have out here, square-roofed house, our cars, our status, our reputation, all that stuff falls away. But this stuff, the developing of what we love, that gives everything we could ever have dreamed of, everything you felt like you didn't get in life. That's coming through this development of love for everyone that comes out of God. And that's something that none of the dark clouds can even touch. You've got that going on. You've got it pretty good. We can all be on our way to making this beautiful spiritual reality be something we step into. So hopefully that lifted your spirits just a little bit. That's the news from heaven. Did it work? Do you like it? Do you have more of a sense of the link between internal and external beauty and correspondences and all that? And does that do anything for you? Does that give you a way to get through your day tomorrow better? Let me know, like and subscribe, and write in the comments. What helped? What didn't? What insights did you have that I didn't have? What tools have you been using? Because I want to know, how valuable is this stuff? Let's put it out there. Let's share it with each other, and let's get life, better and better. Let's have life here be more like this heavenly life by encouraging the growth of heaven inside ourselves. Doesn't sound so bad, right? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit today. Hope these concepts help you as you go out into your day today, and I'll see you next time.